everybody. Welcome to day 3 of week 4. We're going to talk this week about theme, and I'm going to give you a little tiny review of that. We talked about it on Monday. Our skill for our story is theme, which is the big idea or the lesson that the author wants you to learn. You're going to read page 462, and you're going to read and review what plot and theme mean. Plot, we know, of course, is what happens in the story, the beginning and the middle and the end, the problem and the solution. The theme is not about just one story, but about several. Again, it's the moral, the lesson, what they want you to learn. And you guys did this with the Honeywell Center, remember? And she did the story and the theme, and then you made up another story that had the same theme. I know it's been a while, but hopefully this will refresh your memory by reading those 2 pages, reading about what theme is, and then reading a little tiny page that has about 3 or 4 paragraphs that you can try to find the theme in that story as well, okay? Then, of course, you have to reread the story, Two Bad Ants, because tomorrow, Friday, May 8th, is our test over that. So we want to make sure that you're ready for that tomorrow. The more you do today, the less you'll have to do tomorrow. If you don't have to read it tomorrow, you can just quickly take your AR test and be done with reading. All right, language arts today. I have something I hope is fun for you. You need to learn a little bit about ants. You don't have to do anything great or extravagant. You don't have to write a paragraph or anything like that. I should make you, but that's okay, I won't. I just want you to research ants and learn 3 facts, 3 fun facts, and then just write those in complete sentences for me, okay? They have to have capitals, they have to have periods, and they have to be neat. So if your writing is kind of hard to read, we've talked about this a lot, please type it for me, okay? Type those 3 sentences, facts I learned about ants, and send that to me. And you can send it in an email. That might be the easiest. Just start an email and type it in there for me. You could do it on the Notes app or on the Whiteboard app, and then send me those sentences. Hopefully it's kind of easy and fun, and you can learn something new about ants. The last thing is math. Math is a little more challenging today because we're learning some things that you might not have ever had before. Now, we've talked about parallel lines, which of course are right here. We've talked about those, and then we've talked about shapes and how different shapes have different parallel lines. Sets, maybe the sets on the side, the sets on the top. And then yesterday when you did your worksheets, you learned about rhombuses and squares, okay? And parallelograms and rectangles. Well, the difference between those shapes is not the parallel lines, because they all had parallel lines, but they had parallel lines, but they also had intersecting lines, which intersecting lines, of course, intersect each other. That's easy. But they also had some that made right angles. What's a right angle, Mrs. Ault? Well, a right angle is when the 2 lines intersect and they make a box like this in the corner. It's a perfect right angle. It's like the edge of your paper. When you have a paper, the bottom of it, of course, is a perfect little square. And if that square fits in there, then it's a right angle. So sometimes your lines don't intersect at all. Sometimes they intersect. And then sometimes they intersect and they make a perfect right angle, like in a square. So in a rhombus, you have those lines intersecting and making the shape, but you don't have the right angles. In a square, they intersect each other, but they make the squares in the bottom. So that's a difference between them, is the angles that are the right angles from the perpendicular lines, okay? I think we might have talked about perpendicular lines a tiny little bit this year, but it was something, of course, that we were going to do later, like now. So I know it's kind of a new thing, but hopefully with the worksheet today, it might help you sink in a little bit, because you're going to have the answers on the worksheet, and then you're just going to practice drawing it, okay? So parallel lines do not intersect. Intersecting lines do intersect, but then perpendicular lines, of course, they intersect too, but they intersect in a special way, and they make the right angle or the perfect square, okay? That was kind of a lot to digest. Now we have something else to learn. Let's talk about lines. Okay, lines, of course, let's think about numbers, a number line. Well, I've told you before, and I'm sure other teachers have told you, that number lines go on forever, right? Because numbers never stop. So it kind of makes sense, and you might have remembered back when we did number lines and talked about them, that they had arrows on the end. Maybe you didn't notice, and that's okay, but a number line is going to have arrows on the end. Why? Because it's a line. And whenever you have a line, it goes on forever. And these arrows help to show you that it's going on forever. It goes on this way forever, and it goes on this way forever, because numbers never stop. So a number line goes on forever. Okay, hopefully that's the easiest one for you to remember, and you're like, oh yeah, I got that. Now let's talk about array. This is a little different. Now this is not array like we talked about for multiplication. This is just array. Array is part of a line, but it only goes in one direction. So it's like we just cut part of this out and we have an end point, an end. It stops. It stops on this side and goes on forever this way. Or it stops on this side and goes on forever this way. It only goes on forever in one direction. It might go to the right, it might go to the left. A line goes on both directions forever. Array only goes on forever in one direction, okay? It can go direction that way or this way, but it has an end point, not a dot. It has an end point. It ends. It's a point on the line that ends. Now the last one is a line segment. A line segment is when you take a chunk of a line out, or maybe a chunk of array, and it has an end point on each end. It's not a line, it's part of a line. It's not array because it doesn't go on forever in one direction. It doesn't go on either direction. It has an end point on this side and an end point on this side. It's just a section of a line. Now, I made the endpoints really large so you could see them, but normally they're not that big. It's just basically a little, it looks like what we would think is a line. And we'd say, oh yeah, that's a line. But it's not a line unless it has the arrows. Then it's a line. If it doesn't have the arrows, it's a line segment, which means it has end points on the end. It's just a section of a line, okay? Your worksheet today that's coming in your email will have all these definitions for you, and then you're gonna practice drawing them. So math, you need to read it a little bit, but the work won't be hopefully too hard for you. But it's important stuff for you to remember. And then tomorrow we'll have an IXL for it for a grade, okay? So today, hopefully we'll get you freshened up a little bit so that you'll understand it, and then you'll be able to do the IXL tomorrow. If you have any questions or concerns or anything, please email me or send me a remind. We are almost there, guys. So we have tomorrow, Friday, when we do our AR, our written response, and our IXL. Then we're done for this week, and then just one more week and we are done. I hope you have fun today. Do the theme activity. Write some sentences, at least 3 about ants, so we can all learn something new about them. And then draw your different shapes for, or excuse me, they're not shapes. Draw your different concepts that we're working on for geometry. Have a great day, guys, and I will see you tomorrow.